Please like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps our channel.
Okay, settle in. We're embarking on a really chilling journey today. We're going deep into one of the most persistent and, frankly, unsettling maritime mysteries I think I've ever come across.
It's definitely up there. A real head-scratcher.
We're going back to the summer of 1947. Picture the Strait of Malacca, busy, sun-drenched waters.
Yeah, a major shipping lane, like a highway on the sea, constant traffic, ships going back and forth, just routine,
Yeah.
Global trade picking up again after the war.
Totally routine. Sailors knew those waters inside out. The currents, the weather, predictability was the name of the game.
Nothing unusual expected. Not in 47, not there.
Until it happened. That routine afternoon just shattered. It started with static. Really harsh, ear-splitting static bursting over the emergency frequency.
What, coming into the radio room of an American merchant ship, the Silver Star, they were just sailing along, business as usual, and then bam, this noise.
Now, static wasn't uncommon back then, obviously. Oh, sure. Interference, storms, dodgy equipment, it happened all the time. Radio operators were used to it, filtering it out.
But the reports, they make it clear this felt different, heavier somehow, weighted.
Yeah, it wasn't just noise, because then a voice cut through it all.
Described as warped, yeah. Distorted, but definitely human. Like it is being forced out of a dying radio, spitting words on its last breath.
And the message itself, shelling, stark. All officers, including the captain, are dead, lying in chart room and bridge. Possibly whole crew dead.
Imagine being that radio man, alone in his little cabin, those words crackling into existence. The dread must have been immediate.
Absolutely. And then nothing. The transmission just cut off, gone. Just that hissing static left behind, feeling thick, almost suffocating.
The crew on the Silver Star, Captain Howland and his men, they were stunned. The radio man, Petty Officer Jones, just staring at his gear, looking at the watch officer, like, what was that?
Was it a prank? Some garbled old message? A drill gone wrong? Or was it real? Happening right then, out there on the water.
The sources say the air in the radio room felt like it dropped 20 degrees. Jones's hand was trembling as he reached for the mic.
They had to respond. Protocol, Plus, just basic humanity. They called back, trying to break the silence.
Vessel calling, please identify. Repeat, please identify. This is the American merchant vessel, Silver Star. Over.
Silence. Just that mocking hiss. They tried again and again.
Nothing, just empty airwaves. The captain was apparently just about to call it quits, maybe thinking it was a false alarm or the signal faded.
But then it crackled back to life.
Yeah.
The voice returned. Thinner this time, the source notes, like it was being strangled by the airwaves themselves.
And it delivered that final devastating blow.
2 words, so simple, so brutal. I die.
And then true silence. Not static fading out, just gone. Like the radio, the voice, the whole ship just ceased to exist right then.
And other ships heard it too, right? British, Dutch, other American vessels in the strait, they all reported the same thing, the same message, the same abrupt end.
It wasn't really a frantic call for rescue, was it? It felt different, more like a statement, a declaration of doom.
There's that British captain's log entry. He noted the facts, the message, coordinates, time, but then added that personal bit.
Right, the part about the voice. As though they came not from a man, but from the grave. A sound of infinite, absolute despair.
Gives you chills just reading it, that finality, like a curse sent over the airways.
So what could the Silver Star do? They had coordinates, a time, those 2 final words. Their mission was clear, based on the scattered sources we have, the reports, the rumored logs.
Follow the signal. Find the ship. Try to understand what happened. We're not adding anything here, just following the threads in the material.
Exactly. Peeling back the layers of this incredible, unsettling mystery.
We're stepping into a story that feels less like history and more like, well, dark folklore, a sea legend. But it starts with something real that radio signal multiple ships picked up.
It sets the tone right away, doesn't it? Mysterious, eerie, hinting at something unexplained, maybe even supernatural, woven in from the start.
A tale blurring the lines between fact and nightmare. Let's follow the sources and see where they take us aboard that doomed ship.
Okay, so the Silver Star's captain, Charles E. Howland, seasoned guy, Navy vet, moved to merchant marine post-war, described as very no-nonsense by the book.
Right, so when that signal died, his order was instant. Plot the location, full steam ahead, no messing around.
But even his firm hand couldn't completely stop this. Unease spreading through the crew. Those last words, I die, they gotten under everyone's skin.
It wasn't just a rescue anymore, was it? It felt different. like sailing towards the echo of death, a horror show that had already ended.
And as they got closer to the coordinates, the whole atmosphere got weirder. The weather became uncannily calm.
Which is strange for the Strait of Malacca, usually pretty choppy, right?
Exactly. But here the sea was like glass. No ripples, no waves, no wind, like the ocean itself was holding its breath.
That dead calm sailors talk about, often seen as an omen in folklore. Adds to that creeping dread, doesn't it? Nature itself seemed paused.
Totally. And then, through the haze, they saw her, the ship, appearing slowly on the horizon like a pale ghost against the sky. The Ourang Medan.
A Dutch freighter, supposedly overdue in Singapore, drifting aimlessly, listing slightly, but intact. No damage, no smoke, no fire, just sitting there, dead in the water.
Captain Howland, with his binoculars, confirmed it. No crew on deck, no one at the railing. The lookout saw the same. A literal ghost ship even before they knew the horror inside.
As the Silver Star pulled alongside, cautiously cutting engines, the stillness was absolute. Just the lap of water and this faint, unsettling groan from the Ourang Medan.
Not like old wood creaking, the sources say. More like reluctance.
Or resistance, and no seagulls, which is weird for a ship at sea, right? They usually circle.
Yeah.
But here, nothing. Just the two ships, one alive, one dead.
Her paint was flaking, name barely visible, but structurally okay. Lifeboats still there. Portholes dark, like empty eyes. No broken rails, no signs of a fight on deck.
But the men on the Silver Star flinted. Something profoundly wrong. The air felt heavier, thicker, like it's wishing back.
And that smell, clinging to the ship even from a distance. Chemical, acrid, but with this faint, sickening sweetness underneath.
Like ozone in decay. Or sulfur and something sweet stung the nostrils. An unnatural smell for the open ocean.
Definitely not the smell of just an old, rotting ship. It hinted at something specific, something manufactured, something bad. The crew started whispering, afraid of being overheard by what?
Captain Howland felt it too. He wasn't superstitious, the sources say, but seeing her up close, silent, dead. This primal dread kicked in, different from war. The stillness, the smell. It echoed, I die.
He wouldn't admit it, but the ship already had a grip on him, a psychological one.
So the boarding party. 4 men selected, not volunteers. Armed, standard procedure, but it felt kind of useless here. The medic, Petty Officer Lutz, was included, and the first officer, Lieutenant William Eckhart.
Eckhart, tall, composed, Navy vet, seen combat. Even he hesitated. A flicker of unease.
And his words, apparently noted by someone, I don't like this. Feels like stepping into a tomb.
Chilling. As they crossed the gangway, the air got colder, thinner. Strange for a tropical sea, like stepping into a sealed, refrigerated vault.
And when they stepped onto the Ourang Medan's deck, the silence was almost unbearable. Just their boots echoing. The boards groaned beneath them, sharp, resonant, like the ship itself was protesting.
Back on the Silver Star, the radio man, Jones, kept trying the frequency. Silver Star calling, do you read? Over. Nothing. Dead air.
But he swore later, just before he shut off the mic, he heard something. A pop of static then. Something low, not quite a voice. A whisper. A breath. Not English, not Dutch. Just a sound.
He never specified what, but apparently for the rest of his life, he'd pause, cross himself before turning on a radio. Says a lot about the impact.
It really does. Stepping onto that ship wasn't just boarding a derelict. It was stepping into a nightmare. And the source material describes it horrifically.
So the boarding party's on deck, silence pressing in, boards groaning, and that cold, deep, unnatural cold, right? Inside a ship baking in the tropical sun, like a freezer.
A vault sealed tight, against time and reason, one account put it. Flashlight beams cutting through darkness that felt thick, like shadows with weight. And that feeling of being watched just intensified as they went deeper.
Not just loneliness, presence. Jesus, one of them muttered, way too loud in the quiet. And then they found them, the bodies.
Started in the officers' quarters. Stiff, contorted into these bizarre poses, mid-movement, mid-scream, sprawled in chairs, slumped against walls.
One half out of a bunk, reaching for a crucifix on the wall, face just a mask of agony. Another slumped over, fingers digging into his own throat, gasping for air that wasn't there.
And the key thing, the detail that just baffled them. No wounds, no blood, no bruises, no broken bones, no sign of injury, struggle, violence, just death.
And those expressions. Pure, soul-shattering terror on every face. Eyes wide open, mouths frozen mid-scream. The medic, Lutz, he knew death, but this. He noted the rigidity. Rigor mortis set in fast, unnaturally fast for the heat.
In the mess hall, chairs scattered, like people leaped away in panic. Food trays still on tables, untouched, rotting. Same strange smell, chemical tang, faint sweetness, decay mixed with something. Manufactured.
More bodies in the galley. One guy with his arms shoved down the garbage chute, head twisted back, trying to burrow through steel to escape. Another curled in a corner, clutching his chest, face a rictus of pain and terror.
Lieutenant Eckhart, the combat vet, kept saying it almost to himself. No wounds, nothing, no fight, no struggle. Trying to make sense of it, but it defied logic. They didn't die from violence, they died from something else.
And then, in the silence, they heard it. A low sound, not loud, but there, guttural. Like a growl or a bark, but distorted, strained. Crawl up your spine, they followed it, weapons ready.
Led them down a narrow, darker hallway. Air felt thicker like smoke. Floor slick with condensation, or oil.
And they found the ship's dog in the engine room near the hatch, curled up like guarding it or blocking something, body rigid, frozen in terror.
Eyes wide, glazed, lips peeled back in a silent snarl. Teeth bared, claws dug into the metal floor. Fur slick, tail arched high in panic. Even the animal died in absolute terror.
The medic knelt beside it, shook his head, pale. Even the dog, he murmured.
But it was Eckhart who noticed where it was facing. Not the engine, not the door they came through, but the corner of the engine room, where the bulkheads met.
He shone his flashlight there. Nothing, just empty, grimy metal wall, but all four men felt it. That pressure, being watched, scrutinized, like deep water pressing on your chest, hard to breathe.
The chilling certainty that something malevolent had just left, or worse, was still there, just out of sight.
Back to the bridge, Eckhart ordered, his voice tight. They moved faster now, past the silent screams. The radio operator slumped over his console, fingers gripping the key, face turned, mouth open, eyes milky white, still screaming that warning even in death.
Another sailor clutching a Bible at the bottom of stairs, pages torn, lips maybe burned or chapped, dried blood. And they saw the chief engineer near the engine room again, half out the hatch, locked mid-crawl, head twisted back in fear, eyes clouded, but showing maybe recognition, like he saw it, something worse than just fear in his gaze.
They got back to the bridge, grabbed the radio logbook, hoping for answers. But nothing there either. Captain slumped in his chair, agony frozen on his face. Chart laid out for Singapore. No hint of trouble noted before the end.
The logbook, though, it offered a tiny clue. Tantalizingly incomplete, open to a partial entry, handwriting getting shaky. Something in the fog, not natural, cannot breathe. Then the line just trailed off into a jagged stroke, like the pen was snatched away or his hand convulsed.
Then they checked the infirmary. Small space, medical supplies, 2 more bodies on cots, IVs attached. One guy had ripped a bandage off his wrist, the other had bitten through his own lip, dried blood trail.
But the really chilling thing in there was the mirror over the sink.
Shattered, like someone hit it, and written on the glass shards, in grease pencil, stark. Terrifying. They see us.
3 words. That's it. No context. Who are they? How? Why? Just that simple, terrifying statement. A final, desperate message.
The medic, Lutz, was pale, sweating despite the cold. This wasn't poison, he said, voice low, strained. Or gas. Or fire. I've seen all that. This was fear. Pure, paralyzing fear. The kind that stops the heart cold.
He believed fear itself was the cause of death, not just a symptom.
And Eckhart, staring at his reflection in the broken mirror pieces, he swore he saw something move behind them, just for a second. A shape. Tall, thin, almost human, but wrong in the periphery.
Spun around, flashlight beam cutting the air. Nothing. Empty space.
And that, he felt, was somehow worse. The empty corner, the unseen shape, the pressure, a psychological assault on top of the physical horror.
They grabbed the logbook, the note from the mirror, and got out fast. Back to the gangway. The air there felt slightly warmer, more normal, like stepping back from an abyss, but they were silent.
Only when their boots hit the Silver Star's deck did they seem to exhale, breathe normally again, leaving the haunted air of the Ourang Medan behind.
Captain Howland met them. Grim face. Report. Eckhart, drawn, hollow-eyed, gave it straight. They're all dead, sir. Every last one. Officers, crew, the dog. No wounds, no struggle, just dead.
How? Howland asked, looking past him at the silent ship, and Eckhart's simple, terrible reply echoed the medic. They looked scared to death, sir, every single one of them.
And the Ourang Medan just floated there beside them. Still, passive. A floating mausoleum filled with silent screams, holding his horrifying secrets.
So the Silver Star crew, back on their own ship, shaken but safe. Howland gets the report. Everyone dead, frozen in terror, no injuries, unnatural, cold, weird smell, the rigid dog, the log fragment, that message. they see us.
Yeah, the implications were clear, even if the cause wasn't. Whatever hit the Ourang Medan was fast, lethal, and left. Just terror. Howland, pragmatic as he was, felt it. No big salvage operation, no lingering.
Decision made. Just bring back the logbook and the note. Whatever happened was too close, too recent. They were getting out.
But you can't just abandon a derelict in a busy shipping lane, right?
Yeah.
Protocol says salvage, scuttle, or tow it to port for investigation. Howland decided to try towing her.
Smaller party goes back, just 2 guys, attach a heavy tow line to the bow. Rope groans as the Silver Star takes the slack, pulling the dead weight. That uncanny calm persists. Gray sky, dead calm sea, amplifying the silence from the other ship.
And then the Ourang Medan makes a sound. Deep, sudden, violent, rips through the quiet.
Not splintering wood, the sources say. Deeper. A thunderous crack, then this sharp, violent whoomph. Internal detonation.
Smoke bursts from the cargo hold instantly. Thick, black like ink. Seconds later, flames engulf the upper deck. Way too fast for a normal fire.
The Howland didn't hesitate. Over the intercom. Cut the tow line, cut the tow line.
Crew scrambles, terrified again, hacking at the rope with axes. The Ourang Medan, now a burning inferno, feet away. The 2 men still aboard sprinted for the gangway, smoke thick, clinging, reeking of chemicals and rot, rolling like living shadow.
Lieutenant Eckhart was the last man off this time. Shoves the other guy ahead, turns back for one final look into the inferno. Through the smoke, sees the main cargo hatch yawning open, flames licking the edges.
And inside, something weird. Not crates or barrels.
Cylinders, silver, long, unmarked cylinders stacked deep in the hold. One near the opening was cracked, venting gas. Eckhart saw heat waves warping the air around them, and this faint, pale green shimmer rising from the crack, mixing with the black smoke.
A chilling detail. Adds a whole other layer to what that ship was carrying.
He reared. Gangway collapsed as he jumped, burning ship pulling away. Arms haul him onto the Silver Star's deck just as the hoe line snaps with a scream. Ourang Medan drifts a bit further, burning fiercely.
And then she exploded fully. But not like a shattering blast sending debris everywhere. More like a contained implosion explosion. Sucked air in and spat it back out in a column of fire. Middle section ballooned outwards, steel plates bending like paper, cargo hold erupted in yellow-orange flame shooting skyward. Like a mini volcano for a second.
Then, just as fast, she started sinking. Flames vanished as the sea rushed in. Ship cracked down the middle, stern tilting up, bow slipping under, Silver Star, engines roaring, pulled away fast.
Less than 5 minutes, she was gone. Swallowed by the sea. And here's maybe the deepest mystery. No wreckage, no life rafts, no cargo, none of those silver cylinders, no debris field, just smoke curling from the water and that absolute unnatural silence.
Howland, on the bridge, turns to Eckhart, still dripping, shaking. What the hell is in that hold, Eckhart? Voice low with shock, fear.
And Eckhart's chilling reply. Something, sir, that didn't want to be found.
They headed straight for Singapore, crew jumpy, glancing back at the empty horizon. Radio to report what they found. Witnessed, met with disbelief, confusion, skepticism.
A Dutch freighter with no manifest. Crew dead without injury. Explodes and vanishes without a trace. It defied easy explanation.
The Ourang Medan sank without a trace, taking her secrets. No confirmed registry, no nation claiming her, no company reporting a loss. Disappeared as completely as she seemed to appear, like the sea just conjured her up for a moment, then dragged her back down.
And those silver cylinders, that green shimmer, that untraceable smell, just more questions swallowed by the waves.
So the Ourang Medan explodes, sinks, takes everything with her. The Silver Star crew witnessed something profound, unsettling, real, but when they report it, try to verify the ship's existence, they hit a brick wall.
Yeah, the sources really emphasize this. They filed reports, discovery, crew state, the explosion, sent them everywhere, Singapore, Manila, Jakarta, London, Washington. The response, often skeptical, was uniform. No official record of a vessel named Ourang Medan.
Customs, shipping clerks, port authorities, maritime registries, checked everything. Nothing. No construction record, no registration number, no confirmed flag, no departure record, no arrival, no freight logs, no crew manifests. Zero official paper proof that this ship, the Silver Star crew walked on, saw the dead on, watched vanish, ever officially existed. It's baffling.
It truly is. Even the name, Ourang Medan, man from Medan in Malay, bans a port in Sumatra, but no known shipping company based there then would operate a ship that size. No official flag state, Dutch, British, American, Chinese, Indonesian recognized her. Like she just ghosted into the strait, existed long enough for that message in her end, then poof.
But the Silver Star crew knew. They'd been aboard, seen the faces. She was real, physically present, even if the records denied it. And the more they, or later researchers, tried to trace her past, The trail just evaporated into rumor and contradiction.
Whispers, yeah. Hearsay from port bars, intelligence briefs, maybe Chinese origin Tianjin, Shanghai, Hong Kong. Or a Dutch vessel off Jakarta with unregistered cargo, maybe salvaged Japanese war stuff. Rumors of loading mysterious drums in Surabaya.
But all just hearsay, the sources say. No logs, no dock workers on record, no matching bills of lading. Every inquiry hit the same dead end. No documents, no photos, no flag, no proof.
The only potential records ever found were vague, contradictory, often unofficial or quickly suppressed. A marine intelligence report mentioned in Ourang Medan leaving Saigon around then, but details seemed wrong, maybe forged. A half-burned document in Penang mentioned a Dutch freighter operating under shadow registry, name redacted.
And tellingly, researchers say by 1948, even those vague hints were gone. Pulled, classified, destroyed, made to disappear like the ship.
So with official channels blocked, rumor took over. Was she just a smuggler? High-value contraband. But what causes that kind of end? Volatile chemicals, Japanese wartime stockpiles on the black market.
Or something far more sinister. Captured chemical or biological weapons. Moved covertly, breaking international law. Mustard gas, phosgene, Unit 731 stuff, maybe early nerve agents like taboon or sarin. Those could cause rapid, agonizing death, rigidity.
And then the darkest theory, whispered among ex-military, ex-intelligence guys active back then, the idea that intelligence agencies knew that the Ourang Medan was part of an unauthorized clandestine operation.
Like the U.S. in the race for access tech, made shadowy deals, maybe with Unit 731 elements, to get data, tech, samples, moved on unregistered ghost ships designed to vanish if things went wrong.
Under this theory, Ourang Medan picks up terrifying cargo somewhere secret, sails under false flags or none, heading for a rendezvous near Singapore.
Yeah.
But something leaks. A rupture. Toxic agent kills everyone instantly. Faces locked in terror.
And when that distress signal goes out, heard by multiple ships, becoming a potential incident, someone in Washington, Langley, London, The Hague realizes the operation's blown, the ship, the cargo, everything has to disappear. Completely. Permanently.
There are those unconfirmed reports. Quiet men in dark suits, visiting the Silver Star captain and key crew later. Off-the-record questions. Rumors the original logbook and note were seized, replaced, or just vanished. Whispers that sailors who talked too much got visits, told to forget.
By the 50s, with no official confirmation, leads obscured, the Ourang Medan became a maritime urban legend, a cautionary tale, a buried secret dressed up as a ship that wasn't there.
Researchers like Peter Van Helder, who compiled accounts in the 60s, he concluded she might have existed entirely outside official history, fell through the cracks by design. What happened wasn't an accident, but maybe a failed test or transport, meant to vanish.
And 2 months after publishing that, Van Helder died in a car crash. Accident? Maybe. But his notes, research materials, never found. Another shadow.
Even today, people chase faint log entries, debate, document authenticity, argue if it's real or an elaborate hoax born of paranoia. But no one can say for sure what she was, where she came from, what she carried.
Because there's no proof. No survivors, no wreck, only static. And that voice saying, I die. The ship that wasn't there, yet is somehow everywhere in sea folklore. Okay, so the Ourang Medan, with her dead crew, silent horror, fiery end, leaves this huge void of unanswered questions. And into that void rush theories. The sources point to 3 dominant ones trying to explain the inexplicable, each pushing boundaries.
Right. When you have no solid answers, speculation runs wild, fueled by the sheer terror of it all. These theories, though very different, all try to account for the bizarre facts. The cold, the smell, the rapid death, the terror expressions, the explosion, the vanishing act.
Theory 1, hazardous materials, the most grounded, relatively speaking.
Yeah, the pragmatic explanation. Highly volatile, improperly stored chemicals. Nitroglycerin, maybe?
Yeah.
Known for instability, could cause that sudden explosion. Or fast poisons like potassium cyanide or early nerve agents, taboon, sarin. They cause rapid death, asphyxiation, paralysis, muscle spasms, those fixed contorted features. Fits the lack of visible trauma.
And it does fit some facts. The rigidity could be nerve agents. No struggle fits. Explosion fits volatile cargo.
But, as analyses point out, big counterpoints. Assumes incredible recklessness, even for smugglers transporting that stuff without proper containment, stabilization, protective gear.
Yeah.
And critically, why didn't this Silver Star boarding party get sick? Breathing that air, exploring. If it was still potent enough to explode, surely residual fumes.
Believers in darker theories jump on that gap. Suggest the chemical accident is a convenient cover story, floated by governments, intel agencies to hide something worse. After all, the missing manifests are core to the mystery. What if volatile chemicals was just the easiest lie?
Which leads us to theory 2. Darker, maybe more plausible for the time. Japanese chemical biological weapons and a cover-up.
Links directly to WWII Aftermath Unit 731. The idea. Allies, especially the U.S., scrambled for Axis Tech research personnel, covertly getting Japanese Chembio weapons, samples, data, scientists, often for immunity. Ourang Medan was a secret transport, moving dangerous stuff too sensitive, illegal, horrifying for official channels from a hidden site, south through Malacca towards a clandestine research facility, maybe.
Fits the ruthless Cold War realpolitik, doesn't it? National self-interest over ethics. U.S. and Soviets racing for Axis Tech. Unit 731's research was a potential shortcut. Agents like lewisite, phosgene, pathogens, could cause those symptoms. Rapid death, respiratory failure, terror expressions.
In the lack of records, explained by deep state secrecy. Unregistered ship, shadow registry, ghosting through waters, designed to vanish if the mission failed or was compromised. Expendable vessel, illegal cargo.
Believers point to whispers of other mystery sinkings then, maybe similar to Black Ops. Not a one-off, but a secret program. If something went wrong, ships and crews are erased from history.
And then the really fringe, horrifying version of this theory. What if the cargo wasn't just weapons, but experiments?
Something. Alive. Genetically altered pathogens, mutated organisms, stranger bioweapons. In this scenario, death wasn't just a leak. It was exposure to something unknown, reacting violently, infecting, consuming the crew. They weren't just killed, they were silenced because they saw or were exposed to something that could never be public. Maybe they were part of the final, fatal outcome of the experiment itself.
Chilling. Draws a line to the speed of death, the terror, the cold, the smell, even the explosion. What if the explosion was containment failing? Or the organism hitting critical mass? Or ship systems reacting to a biochem event?
Which brings us to theory 3. Non-scientific, but given the lack of evidence, maybe the most enduring. The paranormal.
Dismisses conventional explanations. Posits the ship was touched by forces beyond understanding. Entities, phenomena outside known physics or biology.
Like cursed cargo, ancient artifacts, stolen relics from sacred sites, unleashing supernatural backlash.
Or a haunted ship, already cursed from a previous voyage. A trap waiting. Spirits of the previously lost haunting the decks.
Or the most extreme, alien intervention. Those strange lights reported in the sky around then. Could the cargo have been extraterrestrial? Something retrieved, awakened.
Skeptics naturally dismiss this. Paranormal fills the void left by missing facts. Psychological coping, cultural fears projected onto the unknown. Ghost stories, alien sightings are shadows we create. Terror expressions from asphyxiation, cold from faulty refrigeration, smell from a weird chemical reaction.
But the sources offer the believer's twist. Skeptics struggle to explain certain details together. The speed of rigor mortis with lack of decomposition, the specific chemical and decay smell, total absence of struggle, and especially those identical expressions of pure horror on every face, human and animal. It wasn't just death, it was terror as the cause.
Sailors' accounts of an evil feeling, like something looking back through the walls. Hard to rationalize scientifically. Paranormal proponents argue the cause isn't bound by natural law. The Ourang Medan wasn't just a ship or accident, it was an event, a rupture in reality. Appeared briefly, then the sea closed over it.
So 3 compelling, unsettling theories. Hazardous chemicals, secret biochem weapons cover-up, or the paranormal. And unproven, all have gaps, contradictions, rely on speculation, but each tries to grasp the horrifying truth of what happened and why everyone died in silent, absolute terror.
Even with all that horror, the explosion, the sinking, one question keeps bubbling up. Was there a survivor?
Officially?
Yeah.
No. The Silver Star report, the lack of trace, says everyone was dead. But unofficially, in the whispers, the rumors, the fragmented accounts, the possibility persists. Stories hinting one person might have escaped.
And it's almost always the radio operator, isn't it? The guy who sent "I die."
Yeah, several versions of that story. One from the late 50s. He wasn't rescued at sea, but found delirious months later in a clinic on Nias Island off Sumatra. Sunburnt, gaunt, fingers raw like from frantic Morse code. Died 2 days later. Unknown causes. The doctor supposedly said he had seen the face of God and gone mad trying to forget it. Unverifiable, but chilling.
Another version, maybe closer to the timeline. Fishing crew off Pulau Way near Sumatra's tip pulls a man from the water, barely alive, clutching wood, maybe a life buoy marked O Medan. Severe burns, strange chemical lesions, died before reaching port speaking panicked Dutch and bursts of Morse code.
And the Morse code angle gets stranger, pushes towards intelligence cover-ups. A retired British naval intel officer claimed later he saw classified logs, Singapore, Darwin, Diego Garcia intercepting odd, fragmented Morse from Ourang Medan before the voice transmission.
Not standard distress calls, short, urgent, cryptic bursts. He claimed logs showed messages like, hold is breached, breathing difficult, then cargo, reacting with air, then weirder. They are changing, cannot trust sound, and the creepiest, I'm not me.
He insisted these were intercepted, sent up the chain, then quickly buried, scrubbed from logs. Claimed British intel knew it was a rogue chemical transport, planned to shadow her, but scrubbed the mission after the explosion and disappearance.
There's an American intel angle, too, hinted at. Allegedly declassified NSA intercepts from 47, heavily redacted references to non-standard maritime frequencies near Malacca Strait then. Fragments mention repeating sequence of code and the unnerving line. Operator may be compromised, unsure if code intentional or coerced.
Coerced? What does that even mean here? Something else on board forcing him to transmit, or just the panic state of a dying man? Implication. Intel was listening, detected something highly unusual, couldn't be sure the operator was in control.
And the most fringe but compelling story, the alleged CIA tape reel. 70s anonymous guy claiming to be ex-CIA signal analyst finds a tape reel during archive cleaning. Labeled OM Primary TX, he played it.
First part, the standard transmission. All officers dead. I die. But then, not silence. A second voice. Not the operator, something else. Behind him. Unintelligible. Whispering. Not human language. He described it as layered, like multiple signals or sounds overlapped with heavy, ragged breathing.
Claimed it was so disturbing, so unnatural, he destroyed the reel immediately, kept only the memory, the chilling implication.
Could any of this be true? Survivor stories, Morse code, intercepts, the tape, impossible to confirm, logs classified or lost, witnesses anonymous, dead or dismissed as folklore. But the tales persist, adding layers of shadow and conspiracy.
In the Cold War shadow, secrecy bred suspicion. Any ship without a clear name could be a spy ship. Any survivor a potential leak, a liability to be neutralized, any weird signal a compromise.
But maritime history does have documented cases of survivors found weeks, months, years later. Is it impossible someone, maybe the radio operator, escaped, only to be silenced or erased by those wanting the secrets buried?
Intel agencies back then were masters of containment, deniability. If Ourang Medan carried classified cargo, experimental weapons, or encountered something truly anomalous, eliminating loose-end survivors, logs would tragically be standard procedure. Survivors' liabilities. Logs sanitized or destroyed. Truth, operational casualty.
So we're left with fragments. A life buoy. Whispers of madness, burned fingertips, an alleged burned tape with a second voice, and that final transmission, I die. A warning, or a message only for those who knew what was aboard, confirming failure. We'll likely never know, but the shadows remain.
The Ourang Medan story, despite the lack of records, the contradictions, it fits right into this long, dark history of maritime haunting. Sailors have always told stories of ghost ships, vanishing crews, inexplicable events.
Absolutely. The sea breeds these tales. Isolation, cut off from land, exposed to elements, the crushing deep. Silence amplifies small sounds, shadows stretch. Superstition becomes a defense mechanism, explaining the unexplainable. Old ships even had a ghost catcher role sometimes.
Think of the famous ones. Mary Celeste, adrift, 1872, intact, cargo untouched, logbook open, crew just gone, vanished. No struggle, storm, piracy, just absence.
Or the Flying Dutchman legend, spectral ship, eternal sailing, omen of disaster, archetypal nautical nightmares representing deep-seated fears.
And it's global. Japanese funayure, ghosts of the drowned, spectral lights, phantom ships luring others to doom. Indonesian anchor kapal, haunted ships, cursed by the dead aboard, beliefs that ships themselves can have a spirit.
Every sea culture seems to develop these, because the ocean, for all its beauty and connection, is also terrifying, unknown, potentially deadly.
It's isolation. Days, weeks, months, seeing only sky and water. Silence broken by hull groans, wind sighs, distant deep sounds. The mind plays tricks. Misplaced tool, bad omen. Strange noise, sinister. Experienced sailors report uncanny presences, bad air. Submariners talk about unexplained knocking from empty hull sections. Psychologists call it cabin fever, sensory deprivation. Sailors call it the deep madness.
It's also paranoia. Surrounded by hostile water, no easy escape, help, days away. Fear spreads fast in close quarters. Remember that trawler case in the 40s? 3 dead in the cabin, survivors silent, log destroyed. All they'd say was, something came aboard, an unseen intruder from the sea.
Psychologists study the effects. Sun, motion, disrupted sleep, repetitive duty, awareness of the abyss. Stressors heighten emotion, erode logic, open the mind to suggestion, shared delusions, hallucinations, deep superstitions.
And finally, the sea is supernatural, the last great unknown, more of Mars mapped than the seabed, deep trenches with undiscovered life. Unexplained sounds like the bloop, a vast canvas for our primal fears.
Ghost ships like Ourang Medan mirror those anxieties. 1800s, divine punishment, ancient curses. 1940s, mutated fears, radiation, nerve agents, secret experiments, conspiracies. Ourang Medan fuses old sea superstition with modern paranoia of unseen weapons, clandestine ops. A death message via radio, terror-stricken corpses exploding, vanishing. It feels mythic. Resonates beyond history.
But here's the key difference, the sources note. Mary Celeste was real, hull found. Flying Dutchman is pure legend. Ourang Medan is something else. Yeah. A ghost ship for the Cold War age.
Right. 1800s ghost stories from sailors' logs, campfires. Ourang Medan's story may be born in post-war radio static, intel listening posts, whispers of men knowing too much. She didn't just vanish. She left a transmission, a note. Pure terror, had a name, reported presence, just enough suggestion of reality through contradictory whispers, fragments to feel horrifyingly real, but never enough to confirm her.
A modern myth with a frustrating, disappearing paper trail. That's maybe what makes her uniquely terrifying now. In an era expecting logical explanations, she offers none. She remains part of the vast, dark, unknowable mystery of the sea.
The Ourang Medan story. It's a riddle that just refuses to be solved. Shipwreck with no wreck, deaths with no names. A vessel that seemingly existed, exploded, vanished without a trace. And yet the story persists. Unsinkable.
There's really no definitive, undisputed proof she ever existed as a registered vessel. No registry number, authenticated photo, official loss report that holds up, insurance claims, maritime tribunal. On paper, it's like she never sailed, never existed.
And yet, her name is known. Whispered in ports worldwide, debated by intel circles, obsessed over by radio buffs, armchair detectives, keeps resurfacing like the ship herself, rising from the depths just long enough to be seen, then slipping back into the fog.
Why does it endure? Because the mystery is, as sources say, too perfect, complete in its incompleteness. The unanswered questions don't just frustrate, they haunt. Every version, every lead ends not in resolution, but more questions, another void, another closed door.
Who sent that signal? Just one man or something else there? What was the cargo, chemicals, bioweapon, alien? Why the frozen terror? No injuries. Why didn't the Silver Star crew succumb?
And maybe most unsettling, who buried the story? Because it feels like someone, some entity did. The closer you get, the more facts vanish. Researchers hit obstacles, documents disappear or are forged, witnesses get vague or disappear.
That old Cold War saying, if there's nothing to hide, why are the doors locked? Dive deep into Ourang Medan. The colder the water gets, the more resistance you feel from a world wanting her to stay non-existent on paper.
But it's more than a whodunit or conspiracy. It endures because it taps into something fundamental, primal, a floating metaphor for fear itself. Fear of the unknown, helplessness, staring into the abyss and seeing malice stare back.
The ultimate modern ghost ship. Flying Dutchman damned by fate. Mary Celeste vanished in absence. But Ourang Medan, burned from inside out, crew die, eyes wide open, witnessing the unspeakable. Death wasn't quiet. It was a silent scream broadcast across the waves.
Not a legend passed down for centuries. Born in post-war radio static, Cold War mistrust, whispers of men knowing too much about secret ops. A myth engineered arguably not by sailors and poets, but by shortwave signals, intel analysts, eyewitnesses to horror, carved from shadows, intercepts, redacted files, vanished names, chilling testimony.
And that's why it still feels so real. If it was a myth, it was dressed in just enough terrifying truth, enough verifiable detail from the Silver Star crew to be utterly convincing psychologically.
Stories like this don't survive in official records. They survive in echoes. A lifebuoy on a beach. Whispers of a raving survivor, burned fingertips, an electric tape with an impossible sound, a fleeting sighting in fog. Each whisper feeds the next, reinforcing the myth. And unlike most mysteries, Ourang Medan resists debunking, not because no one tried, but because the core facts, dead crew, terror, vanishing, remain unexplained, and evidence dissolves when grasped.
She's a void on the ocean, an unanswered signal, the ship that maybe never existed but refuses to die.
And there is that final, chilling thought, a provocative possibility the source material leaves us with, tapping into the deepest fears.
What if the Ourang Medan didn't actually sink?
The Silver Star report says she exploded, burned, cracked, went under. But no wreck definitively found, no matching debris field, no final confirmation.
What if she's still out there, adrift? Empty, waiting. Somewhere in the fog-choked shipping lanes, resting slowly in unseen currents. Decks littered with bones. Bridge frozen in time, charts out. Radio room humming faintly like a dying heartbeat. A single light flickering.
And every so often, when conditions are right, sea calm, sky dull, she broadcasts again. Not a full message, just a whisper. 2 words repeated into the silence.
I die.
And someone, somewhere, still hears it.
That's a haunting thought to leave you with. We've tried to unpack the unsettling facts, the chilling possibilities, the enduring mystery from the sources on the Ourang Medan, a story reminding us sometimes the greatest horrors leave no trace, defy explanation, and sail just beyond the edge of reality.
A mystery built from static and silence, a ghost ship for the modern age, sailing forever just beyond confirmed reality, reminding us how much remains unknown beneath the waves and in the shadows of history.
Please like, subscribe, and comment. It really helps our channel.